blacksmith, the bakery, the print press, the general store, the tin shop, the people? What makes a community? Today we're going to be taking another trip in my time machine, back to the year 1860. This time we're headed up to Canada to see what life was like in a 19th century Canadian village. Let's have a look. Canada experienced a period of tremendous change during the 19th century. Its population drastically increased due to immigrants from the United States as well as abroad. Communities were growing, which created increasing conflicts with the indigenous people. There was the War of 1812, rebellions, increasing steps towards democracy, a gold rush, and additional territories being added to the Dominion. Everything was changing. In 1857, Queen Victoria declared Ottawa to be the capital of Canada. And in the year 1860, Canada first used the maple leaf as its official emblem. The Dominion of Canada was formed July 1st, 1867, and was comprised of 4 provinces: New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Ontario, and Quebec. It is celebrated today as Canada Day, or more informally, Canada's birthday, as Canada adapted its current constitution on that day and officially became a country. Sir John A. Macdonald was the country's first prime minister. Alright, let's take a walk around this quaint little village to have a glimpse into everyday life in 1860. There are around 40 buildings that make up the village. We won't have a chance to visit them all, but I definitely want to hit the blacksmith and the tin shop. Oh, and the general store. Well, let's just walk around and see. The tin shop looks open, so let's start in there. In 19th century Canada, every town had a tinsmith who made a wide variety of practical tin goods for household and farm use. In such a shop, one could find many useful items, such as buckets, scoops, stovepipes, oil lamps, even tin bathtubs. The raw material was shipped in from Britain. The tin mines of Cornwall, England, still provided most of the world's exported tin, and did so until the late 1870s. Now, let's head over to the blacksmith. The blacksmith provided a variety of services, including shoeing horses, fitting and repairing parts for wagons, carriages, and farm equipment, and also making tools, his most valuable skill. Tools he could then use himself or sell to others. The blacksmith services were essential to the community.
The way you work iron, and that's what we do here, we shoe horses and oxen, and we make all kinds of repairs, and we make things out of iron. And the way I have to do it to change the shape of the iron, to make it into what I want, is I have to heat it up. And that's what is called a forge, that fire. And that fire uses coal for fuel. And then I pump air into it. The bellows behind me, you can see them move as I pump, and they're pushing air into the fire to heat it up. And when the iron gets hot, it'll start to get color and glow. So you see? No, 1600 degrees. And when it's hot like that, it becomes softer. And all I'm trying to do right now is put a plate on there.
Alright, so let's head on over to the general store. The general store was the place to be in 1860. They handled most of the needs of the townspeople, much like the department stores of today. The shelves inside held a wide variety of goods, such as fabric, tools, tea, sugar and spices, pots and pans, medicine, and much, much more. Anything you needed, really. The storekeeper also acted as the village postmaster, as well as a banker. He offered credit to farmers. It was common back then for farmers to repay their debt after the harvest. Now that we've seen inside the store, let's take a look around town, inside some of these quaint little homes, and see if we can spot any of these items. The first thing I notice is the hardwood furniture, the quilted bedding, And the wallpaper. These rooms look just like my grandparents' house in the 1980s. Everything is so familiar, even though it was 120 years later. You'll notice a lot of items from the tin shop up on the fireplace mantle. I really appreciate how there's no plastic in sight. Everything is made of natural materials: wood, glass, tin. I'm sure most of these items would have come from the general store. Now, let's head over to the shoe cobbler.
Oh, okay. Village shoemaker, and at that time we would have made what they call a brogan. That's what they would make. These were all leather shoes. Now, the square heel on it, they were neither left nor right. So.
Oh, really? That's not comfortable.
Yeah. Well, and as a first time customer, what I'd have to do is I'd have to make a last, which is a shoe form like that.
Okay.
And I would do that on the bench. Actually, I've got to get a piece of wood and do that. But I would take your left foot, and I take a bunch of measurements on your left foot, and how long it is and all that stuff, and then I would carve out a last on there on the bench. And then whenever that's done.
How do you carve it? Just with a knife?
Yes. That and this.
Wow.
Well, he was an interesting character. Now, let's take a tour of this amazing, fully operational 19th century mill. The settlers harnessed the power of water and steam to power the woolen factory, flour mill, and sawmill. The mills processed wool, grain, and logs, which provided valuable products such as cloth, flour, and lumber. They also provided employment, which was essential to the town's economy. Now, let's take a walk around the mill and take in all the sights and sounds. Rules and regulations of the Asselin Woolen Mill. Number 1. Work to commence at 7 a.m. and 1 p.m., stopping at 12 a.m. to 8:15 p.m. 2. At the hour for starting, all employees are required to be at their respective places, and one being 15 minutes late will be charged with 1/8 of a day lost. 3. Any mistakes made by workmen causing loss to the firm will be charged out of wages of person making same. 4. Any person wishing to speak with an employee must first get permission from the person in charge. 5. Talking, scuffling, or boisterous conduct will not be allowed during working hours, and no one will be permitted to leave work or the room in which they are employed without permission from the foreman. 6. On the 5th of every month, the employees will be settled with, and any balance due on the previous month's work shall be paid. 7. The above rules will be strictly enforced, and a violation of and of them will be considered sufficient reason to discharge without further notice. Now let's take a look at the print press. The movable type printing press was invented in Germany in the 15th century. Over 400 years later, here in 1860 Canada, you will see not much has changed since then. The term movable type refers to the interchangeable letters and words that could be used to copy text. The press itself worked just like a giant stamp. Here we see the press operator applying the ink, and then a massive amount of pressure is used to ensure the letters print in full. The printing press revolutionized society by standardizing language, spreading ideas, and increasing literacy. And at the end of the day, nothing brings a community together like a home-cooked meal. In the mid-19th century, very little food was packaged or processed. Most dishes were prepared using meats and vegetables harvested by the hands of the local farmers. On today's menu, bean soup and bread, warm and fresh from the oven. That's going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you've enjoyed. If so, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a mean comment. Once again, thanks for watching.